welcome to the K2C podcast,
My name is Trina,
hosted by Ambrose.
and I'm currently resident in Canada.
If you have any questions relating to moving, studying, living, or settling in Canada, drop them down in the comment section so that we can host guests who have the right answers for your questions. Now, let's get into the video.
Today we are going to be talking about moving from the UK to Canada for Masters in Law. We can start by talking about your experience studying in the UK. What was that like for your bachelors?
Yeah, so studying in the UK was, I want to say it wasn't so different because I studied in a British system school for high school. So I kind of had an understanding of the educational system and how things functioned in that regard. The difference, though, was, the similarity was how rigorous the studies and the academic system was. In the UK, there's no playing around. There's no like wiggle room that you have. You're not given a lot of free time. It's pretty much books and books and books, especially if you're in law. There was a lot of reading that we had to do. So in that regard, it was pretty easy for me to transition into the UK system and adapt into the British system.
You said it's very rigorous in the UK. When you compare against the Canadian system, would you say it's like the difference is vast?
Yeah, I would say it's it's definitely been. I found the Canadian system a bit easier than the UK system. It wasn't as, for me, in my opinion, it wasn't as demanding um, of my intellectual abilities. It did bring out different skills that I had, but it wasn't. I wasn't having to spend sleepless nights studying, which is something that I did a lot in the UK. Now, I don't know if that's speaking to the rigorousness of the course or the difference in the course or my time management skills. I don't know what that speaks to, but it was definitely a smoother and easier experience studying in Canada than it was in the UK.
Okay. Now I guess we can talk about why you switched. Why did you make the switch from the UK? Because I take it you had the opportunity to pursue a master's in the UK as well. So why did you switch from the UK to Canada?
Yeah, I wanted to, the Canadian educational system is something that I've heard, aside from the UK and Australia, Canada is one of those educational systems that I hear everyone talking about. It's very glamorized and it's very well respected and well renowned. And it's something that I've always wanted to come and experience for myself. If it wasn't for the lengthy process to get a law degree in Canada, I would have probably come to Canada before going to the UK, just because I already had that British experience and now wanted to have the Canadian educational experience and see what that was like and make my own judgments on both systems. So yeah, this was one of those opportunities that I got to just switch over, and I seized it and took it on as fast as I could.
You said the length of the course in Canada. How long was the bachelor's if you were to do law in Canada?
Oh gosh, it would have taken me almost 7 years because you have to do a pre-law degree. So that can be like a bachelor in science, which is like 4 years typically. And then you have to go to law school. Law school here is, I think, 3 to 4 years. So it would have taken me a total of 8 years just to get a law degree. So I'd have 2 degrees at the end of the day, but just to get a law degree, it would have taken me about 8 years. But in the UK, it took me 3 years.
8 years is crazy.
8 years is insane.
And you said you live with 2 degrees. What degrees are those?
Because you have the pre-law degree, which will be like a normal bachelor of science degree or bachelor of arts degree or something like that,
Mm,
bachelor in political science or something, and
mm.
then you now specialize and you leave with an equivalent of a bachelor of laws.
All right. And then you opted to go to the UK and do it there, the 3 years. And then you switched to Canada. So having finished, because for those maybe who missed it, she graduated recently and is now working. But what were the requirements for you making that switch? What were some of the things you had to do in order for that switch to be valid?
Yeah, to make the switch into a master of laws, it was the standard academic requirements and English proficiency requirements. So in order to join a master of laws, you have to have a bachelor of laws or be in the process of completing a bachelor of laws. So by the time you start your program, you basically have to have finished and graduated with a bachelor of laws degree. And my timing was very ideal because as soon as I finished my bachelor's, I started the master's. So there's that, and then also the proficiency in English. So Canada is a bilingual country. They speak both English and French, but the program that I was entering was the English program. And in order to enter that program, I had to demonstrate that I can speak and communicate and comprehend the English language. I Most people would have to do that through the English exams. I think it's the IELTS exams, but
Mm.
I got exempt from it because of I had studied in the UK. If you study in the UK, you have some level of understanding of English. So I was able to get exempt from that requirement. But those were the two main ones that I can remember off the top of my head.
Okay. While we're still on that point of requirements, because I know right now you're preparing to transform your degree, your bachelor's, into and excuse my language, I don't know the terminology, but into Canada certified. You know, I don't know if that's what it's called. I guess you can tell us more about that. Um, Tell us about that requirement because I see you preparing for it, and I feel like it might be important to some of the people watching in order for you to become a lawyer.
Yeah, so if for anyone that's internationally trained, an internationally trained lawyer, you have to basically you have to be able to demonstrate that the knowledge that you have as a law graduate is equivalent to the knowledge of a Canadian law graduate. Typically, our law schools or law schools outside of Canada don't focus on Canadian law. We're not studying Canadian criminal law. We're not studying, Canadian professional responsibility or different areas like that. It's not Canadian focused. It will typically be focused on the jurisdiction that you're in. But when you come here, you basically get your degree assessed, and then there's an organization that will tell you, okay, you have to do the standard is 5 exams. Everyone that's internationally trained does at least 5 exams. And you do these 5 exams, then once you pass them, they give you a certificate that says, okay, this person's knowledge, the knowledge that they have until this point, is equivalent to someone who would have just graduated Canadian law school. And once you get that, then you can now go into the process of practice of qualifying to become a barrister or solicitor in Canada, basically a lawyer in Canada. But yeah, if you're internationally trained, you have to go through that process to become a lawyer in Canada. There's no way, no if, buts, or ands. There's no way around it. We all have to go through it. And the
On what's
process,
uh-huh.
the process it takes, it depends on how long you want the process to take. The assessment will take like, I think like mine took like maybe 3 or 4 months, maybe even longer. But to do the exams, some people do the exams and finish all of them in a month. Others do it in years, others do it in like 3 or 4 months. It honestly depends on you and what you can take on. I'm personally spreading it out and doing it across the period of 1.5 years, just to give myself a bit of time. I don't
Yeah.
want to overwhelm myself, and because I'm working full time as well, it can get overwhelming to juggle both.
Mm. And I take it you are paying for, each of these papers. So you take however long you need to make sure you're prepared for the paper so that you don't have to resit it and therefore spend more time, not just the money. What's the biggest challenge you faced in this process of transitioning from yeah, and it could be transitioning as a student, but also transitioning in the sense of the 5 exams you need to do to become a lawyer. So just the biggest challenge overall with this transition, what has it been?
Honestly, I would say it's these 5 exams process, because it's just so you're so close to the finish line. You're at the point where you have pretty much a lot of the knowledge that you need to practice as a lawyer, but it's just this one hurdle that has been put in place that you have to get over. So for me, it's having to be done with 2 degrees and still have to wake up every morning or stay up late at night and study for exams just for them to recognize my UK law degree, despite the fact that the legal system here is very similar, if not the same, to the legal system in the UK, and the laws are basically originating from there. So that's for me the most challenging part, is waking up every morning and making sure I have to study for these exams, when you just like, I have the knowledge of a lawyer. I just need to do my bar exam and pass my bar exam, and I'm good. I don't feel the need to go through all this. But each country has their own system. It's one of those things that you just kind of embrace and take it on, and know that once I qualify, it would have been worthwhile. It would
Mm,
have been worthwhile. But on the academic area, the grading system is so different, so different. That's one thing that took me, it's to this day I don't really comprehend it to the fullest, even though I'm done with the degree here.
mm,
In the UK we used to do first class, second class, upper, second class, lower, and you're just seeing percentages and the class that you're in. Here they go into GPAs and A plus and A minus and B plus, and I don't really understand the plus or the minuses. I just take what comes my way, or it's, I don't know. They keep saying cum laude and magna cum laude and summa cum laude, and I don't understand this lingo really. So
mm.
for me, that's been a bit of a challenge, is trying to adapt and really gauge. Okay, am I doing well in my academics? Was I doing well in my academics, or what exactly, where am I, trying to gauge where exactly I'm at. But
Mm.
I got the hang of it, at least whatever I needed to get the hang of, you know.
Yeah, now you have a better idea, basically.
Yeah, I still
Better
couldn't
idea.
explain it to you
Mm,
100% without
mm.
any errors, but I can give someone like a general overview. I think I'm at that point.
Do you think it's lucrative to be a lawyer right now in Canada? Are there opportunities?
They are. The thing is, like everywhere else in the world, the legal profession is very competitive. Um, so there's a lot of work opportunities and a lot of people needing lawyers, but without really getting into the complexities of it all. There's a lot of barriers that exist that prohibit people from doing so. So yeah, it's, there's a lot of job opportunities, but also you're looking at the general public and you're like, do most of them have the ability or the capability to get a lawyer? Debatable. That may not necessarily be the case. But yeah, job wise, there are positions available. There are people looking for lawyers, qualified and skilled lawyers. Yeah,
So you said something interesting. You don't think um, the people who would need a lawyer may be able to afford them?
I feel like that's an issue. Yeah, I feel like that's a global issue, because it's not even just specific to Canada, but even the UK. You find that, and that's something I'm studying currently in one of my exams. You find that access to justice isn't really the most, there's not that much access to justice. So most people are not able to afford lawyers, or they're not able to simply access lawyers because they don't even know where to start, or there's a lot of factors that go into it. Um, and I think it's Canada specific. It's Canada, but it also happens back home. It happens in the UK. It's a global issue, I think. Yeah.
That's interesting. That's interesting. I guess it's because lawyers are pretty much expensive. A good lawyer is expensive.
Yeah.
So, like you said, most people are not in position to consistently afford one in case the court case, drags on. Now, moving on, I would like us to talk about any culture shock that you faced, right? Because, my bad, you moved from you moved from Kenya,
Yeah.
right? You've moved around quite a bit as a student. You moved from Uganda to Kenya, from Kenya to UK. But now from the UK, because in the UK you spent 3 years, right?
Yeah.
Basically, adulting. You are learning to become an adult, take care of yourself. It was your first time really on your own. So what I would like to know is, I'm having formed this idea of what life is, moving to Canada, what were some of the things that you found odd, or that you felt, were different, very different from what you were used to?
Yeah. I would say it's the people, honestly. The people that I experienced in the UK were the people in the UK generally, from my reading, they're very reserved and very kind of keep to myself. I'm not really engaging with you. I have my headphones in, my head is down. I'm on a mission to get where I'm going. But here it's a different story. Everyone is so friendly and welcoming. It's one of those things where you'll just be standing at a bus stop minding your business, yes, your own business, and someone will come and have a full-on conversation with you, and before you know it, the bus has passed and you have to wait for the next one. They're just so welcoming and so friendly. um Generally, you might get that one or two odd people that may not necessarily be like that, but
Mm.
yeah, it's they're a lot more welcoming and friendly on this side of the world than the UK. I what I experienced in the UK. Weather, people, the Canadian weather is not a joke.
What
What you
about it?
see on TV is real. It's
Uh,
what you see on the TV is real. The weather on this side of the world is emotional. You know, back home in Kenya, we have, and in the UK, I feel like we had very cut out seasons. You know, if it's the rainy season, it's going to be raining this whole time. You'll barely might get a bit of sun here and there, or if it's gloomy, you might get a bit of, sun here and there. And then if it's the sunny season, it's hot pretty much throughout. You're not getting any thunderstorms or anything like that. Canada, it's so hard to predict what the weather during the day is going to be like. We'll have one day it will be 32 degrees and the sun is out. The next like 5 minutes, we're having a thunderstorm and a tornado warning, and then it's back to sunny. Or it'll be snowing and then it's sunny outside. You're just kind of confused and all over the place. You don't really know what to do with yourself or how to
mm,
dress. You find yourself carrying all the possible weather guards that you have with you just to be prepared. So it took a bit of getting used to, and I think I'm still getting used to that to the state.
Well, would you say it's a Canada thing or an Ottawa thing?
Um, you know what? I've only been to Ottawa and Toronto, so
Mm.
I would say it's an Ontario thing for now.
Until you've traveled around quite a bit, huh?
Well, exactly, exactly. I've been to Quebec, but not so far into it or for long enough to understand what the weather is like there. But
Mm.
I would say it's an Ontario thing at least. Yeah.
Okay. Just to recap, that means the areas where you felt where you faced culture shock were with the people and the way they were welcoming of you or the way they treated you, and then the second thing is the weather,
Yeah.
right? So that's those are the two things that people must come prepared for, or at least in mind, knowing okay, this is how they say they are, and then experience for themselves. And
Yeah.
yeah, I think on a closing note, I would like to know, or I would like you to let our audience know how it's going, right? Now you've just completed, it was a 2-year master's degree, right?
It was like 16 months.
Mm,
But yeah,
okay,
it was
just
very,
under
yeah,
2 years.
yeah.
Okay, okay. And since then, right now, okay, staying in Canada in general, has it been 2 years?
Yeah, I make two years next month in August.
Okay. How is it going? How is it going generally?
It's good.
Mm,
It's good. I think um, Canada is one of those countries where you have to come with the mindset of I want it. There's nothing that's going to be handed to you per se. You have to you have to go for what you want. And as long as you do that, as long as you go for what you want in the academic field, in the employment field, in the immigration field, I can't really say you'll get it guaranteed, but in the academic and employment field, at least I can say something will work out. There's always opportunities out there. And once you put yourself out there, it will go well. Something will work out and things will fall in place. And that's exactly what I've been able to do. And I think I'm at a place where I'm comfortable. I'm okay. things are kind of falling in place as I expect them to be, and as they should be, and as I hope for them to be, falling into place. So yeah, it's great. It comes with its own challenges. Getting homesick is a big thing. Wanting to go back home every now and then, or just wanting the love of family around you, everyone every now and then, hits different. But overall, once you overlook all those factors, it's good.
It's a blessing still.
Yeah, it's a blessing. It's a huge blessing.
Okay. Would you move from Ottawa
To go where?
to go live somewhere else, like Saskatchewan or something?
Oh my days, I don't know.
It's
I
funny
think
reaction.
I've I've done my fair share of moving around the globe.
Mm,
For a while. I think for now, if I'm moving, it's only going to be within Ontario. I don't see myself changing province in the near future.
mm,
Um, I see myself, this is home for me. I'm so familiar and so comfortable and still learning the environment. Most of the time when I've moved, it's just when I'm getting to learn and understand the environment that I'm in. And I don't
mm,
want that to happen here. I want to give myself some time to get used and, say, I know Ottawa and I know Ontario inside out like the back of my palm, you know?
mm.
So I don't, yeah, 10 years down the line, not yet. I see myself staying here in the long term, but God might have something different. I don't know. I don't know what's in the future.
Yeah, and that's okay. I mean, you
Yeah.
shouldn't know every step of the way. You figure it out. That's what I think and believe,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Has it been easy for you to build a community there? A community of people that you find similarities with and uh can 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 reach out to in times when you need maybe to talk to someone or you just need, that kind of connection.
Yeah. I mean, it's been easier when I started putting myself out more,
Mm,
because I came in when COVID was still, we were sure about what it was, but we weren't sure about what variant was coming out in what period of the year. I was very reserved when I first came. I was just kind of confined in my apartment and in my house, and only going to the store and coming back home. I wasn't really going out much. But now that everything has kind of sizzled down, I'm able to go out and interact with friends, or be more open to having conversations with strangers, and actually following up with those conversations if we happen to exchange contacts. And it's one of those things where if you put yourself out there, you'll be able to build that community. I've been able to build that community of people that I'm able to call when I need help, or just call to hang out and just chill. Yeah, it's one of those things. As I said, this is home for me, so I have to build that community. This is a place that I hope to call home somewhere. Like, I'm calling home now, and I hope to continue to call home. In order for me to be able to comfortably do that, I have to have people here that I can rely on, and
mm.
I have to build that community around myself.
Well put, well put. I don't think there's a final way to have this episode end. Um, I know one of the main things can be leaving something you already know behind. One of the most challenging things is leaving something you're already familiar with to go and, you know, explore this new place. So that can be something that stops people from taking that step.
Mhm.
And it's good to hear that you are adjusting well. And I'm sure someone in the audience will resonate with what you've just said.
Yeah.
Outside that, if there is anything maybe you want to shout out, maybe you want to let the people know, you can do that. But outside that, I think that's the end of the episode.
Yes, I just want to say subscribe, hit the like button, share the videos.
Yes, sir.
Um, Take care of yourselves.